why this is important is because until you know where you are, it's hard to know how to get anywhere. So whether you're picking up a loaf of bread or trying to build, a financial empire, until you know where you begin, it's hard to find it. The so our world has had to face a number of disasters, a number of problems, a number of things, emotionally, mentally, spiritual, and every other way. We've had storms. Oh my God. Like they seem to be coming about every 6 weeks apart. There's fires north, south, east, west, Canada. We almost couldn't even breathe for a while. And then there's the floods. And God forbid, I hope this all ends, but we do have war on our planet still. And the messes we make of our own lives. These hurt worse than a truck sometimes, emotional, mental breakups. And then there are things that happen that get our own attention. If you look up in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see what I did to myself when I tried to chop off a third of my hand. And I'll show you that I'm all better now, but later. Okay. So, and I've had the privilege of talking to some of you right after you've had a hard day at work. And sometimes it just goes on and on. So then there are questions about what now? Where then? Who can? When will? How do I? And why is this happening to me? And all of that, right? Things that for me, and what I'm going to be teaching you today is how that you can get the answer from looking in the mirror and maybe getting your own answers. So these are the questions that I answered for me. Sometimes the best way to recognize our value is by asking the right questions, like, if the world went to hell, man, I'm glad I'm a survivor and I have a Jeep, a rifle, and a go bag to prove it. Okay. So at my job, I can stay on task and hard work better than anybody. The thing is, in a relationship, I'm not afraid of intimacy and I'm deeply connected. When everything is falling apart, I am grateful that I know how to give hugs and keep life going. In crisis, people can count on me to catch the falling pieces. The skill I've learned in childhood that I never thought I'd use but could save me now is how to be quiet. And I know that probably surprised some of you. But if I took what I underlined right here, right, on the screen where it says, I'm a survivor, hard work, not afraid, give hugs, being able to catch it, okay, and know how to be quiet. So if I were to take all of those words and put them into a sentence, I don't have to wait for disaster to happen in order to be able to use those skill sets. I can learn me and then learn that I can use that when things are going right, when things are going good. I can still tap those things. I just have to know them and believe them. So in that workbook that I gave you is a section on this, but I'm not going to spend all the time to go over that right now. I just wanted to bring the point forward. So nobody is trying to stop you from being all that you can be. Nobody's trying to keep you from doing that. Is everybody still with me?
Yes.
Okay. So when we have when we have people who are trying to look out for us, when they say, whoa, stop, caution, turn around, the idea is not so that they're trying to stop us from being successful. They're trying to stop us from hurting ourselves. And some of those things are bear paying attention to. But on the other hand, you also got to kind of push forward. So what I want you to get is not that you're impossible, but that I'm possible. I'm possible in all ways. I'm possible in all capacities. I'm possible in all discoveries. I'm possible. And so in your workbook, I talked to you about this, and I want you to make like 6 pieces of paper with all of this on it, and I give it to you in the workbook. And I want you to post it where you're going to see it, because we have so many reminders of how awful we can be to ourselves and when we allow to take on other people's stuff, that we need to be reminded that we are possible, because that's what the universe is trying to teach us. It doesn't matter what's going on in the world. Look, if I get struck by lightning and this time I blow up, instead of just saying ouch, as I've already been struck by lightning twice, then I think I'm going to be better off on the other side. But if I'm here, I know I can get through it, because I have help and support of loving friends like you all, as well as Elizabeth, to help me do so. Okay, so here's the thing that I want you to, the next thing I want you to think about is that the things that drive you, you have in every one of these areas, you have drives that correspond to who we human beings have been since there's been human beings. So that's at least a few million years. We have drives for emotional connection and mental acuity, and we desire to know what's the more of the universe in our spiritual lives. We should be taking care of ourselves physically, but we also have a tendency to build family. And I'm not just talking about the family you were born into. Now, my family was kind enough to give me all kinds of issues to work through in my adult years. But I also have a group of friends that I gather and put around, and they're with me, right? So intimacy isn't a sexual thing. It's about where you can be, how you can be close to somebody. We are driven to do that. We're driven to have friends. We're driven to find some way to support ourselves, to learn things that'll help us, to take care of our finances and our legacy. We have gifts and we have calling. So there's, again, the emotional, there's the mental, there's the physical, and all of this is in your workbook. I'm not trying to go too fast for you here, but spiritual, family, intimacy, social, occupational, educational, financial, gifts, and our calling. Our calling is something that we feel strongly about and that we're meant to do. It's about finding the that makes us happy and pushes us to make us a positive difference in the world. This may be the work that you do, but only if the Creator can trust you to do it. So in your workbook, I talked to you about how you can fold up a piece of paper. So take a plain piece of paper, okay, and fold it up in half. Thank you. I get it. Yeah, you can keep that one. Okay, so fold it up in half like that, and then fold it up in half again. Okay. Then approximately 1/3 of this from the left side over to the right side, make another fold. And then wear it like a hat. No. Then open it up. And you should have like a line here with 4 separations. And for this particular exercise, you get to do this 3 times. I know it's complex, and luckily it's written down in the book. But you have Here, okay, so to begin with, for the sake of our conversation, I want you to take a piece of paper, then take your piece of paper, and in the first one, write emotional. The next one, mental. The next one, spiritual. The next one, physical. Okay, so I'll let the class catch up. Okay, so we all have these drives, and sometimes, and so to explain this more to you, the drives that you have, whether you like them or love them, emotional, mental, spiritual, whenever you interact with other people, which is what we're all called to do, whenever you interact with other people, you are you will have a corresponding response. And sometimes those responses can be judged as negative, and sometimes they can be judged as positive. But what I want you to do, and what's in the workbook to do, is for you to kind of think about who you are in all those different areas. And like what I mean by that is when you are at church, you're different than you are when you're at work. Yeah. Okay. So when you're out with your friends partying, you're not supposed to act like that at work. Right?
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't enjoy your job, but it is a different energy. It's a different set, right? It's a different application of your gifts, whatever those are. Okay. So I want you to take the fat part over here. Oops, I guess that would be over here. And write out a little bit about who you are. But I also want you to think about, is in each one of the 12 areas, I want you to give yourself a score. So I go into some areas in the workbook where I talk about how I scored me. And I didn't put, on a scale of 1 to 10, I didn't put 10 in there in every one of them. For one thing, I'm 100% of a person, not 120%. Okay. So when you are trying to figure out who you are emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, family, social, occupational, educational, give yourself a score. And this isn't something you're going to hand in for a grade. Okay. This is just for you to find out where you are. And so when you start thinking about things that involve a combination of the 12 drives, like travel or vacation or shopping at the store, right? You can have a bunch of different areas all in play at the same time. But if you don't really know you yet, then how do you know how you're going to act? How do you know how you're going to react? How do you know if your money disappears tomorrow? Are you going to lose it? Well, I will for a while. But the thing is I also know what strengths I have. Remember that other exercise we did? Okay. That there are things that are going to happen in everybody's life. And if you know how you're going to move forward from here, then that is at least something in your toolbox that you didn't have before. So I'm going to do kind of a plug. Okay. So hopefully y'all can stand it. I have had some printed works for a long time. Okay. One of which, this wasn't the first one, but it's called the Path Map. Remember I said you had 12 areas of human existence? Okay. Well, would it surprise you to find out that there is a stone, mineral, crystal, or gem that exactly corresponds with the vibration of when you're angry, of when you're happy, of when you're friends or your family or all of that? Would that surprise anyone? Well, there is. There's a stone that correlates. And for just this reason alone, you probably should pick up the path map. But if you want to know how to work in every one of those 12 areas, there's a chart for that. Okay. And the way that this works, I need a third hand. Wait, I got it. Okay. So if you are trying to work on something spiritual, right? You need to grab a piece of danbarite. And if you are a pearl, you need to come over here. Hard to read upside down. Where are we at? Pearl. Okay. You need to get yourself a piece of blue agate and a pearl and carry those around in your pocket. So for us older people, before we had phones, we used to use something like a multiplication table, right? And so you start over here, you cart down here, and when you bring it down together, you have your answer. So, not that I want to spend forever on that, but let's talk about my first book. My first book was The Ancient Stone Reading, and where I teach people how to use stones, minerals, crystals, and gems to do a reading, like some people use tarot cards. Okay? Because each stone has a meaning, and the position that it lands in, also has a meaning. And I was surprised to find out that people that invented tarot cards didn't tell people what it meant when it landed in such and such a position. But people love this book. It's become a bestseller. Okay. Now, my next recent book is Living Love. And this is the manual of how to have it or how to fix it. It's available on Amazon, Kindle. It's also available in print. The book that I just finished, it was 40 years in the making. I spent the last, what was it, Lauren, 18 months putting this together? Okay. So 18 months it took me to put this together. It's called The Other Powering You. Now, during that first part of that 18 months, science was kind enough to discover something about our universe. They discovered that there's a force that holds everything together, that keeps spinning objects from spinning out of space, that holds it an energy. Now, modern science has come up with a word for it. Even though Magi's and Mormons and Muslims and Buddhists and Baptists and priests and shamans have been talking about that energy for how long, Denise? 50,000 years? Okay. So science discovered it, right? And they were wise enough to call it dark matter and dark energy. That's because they understand it so well. Not. So, anyway, this is that book, okay? And it's this thick. So as a digital book, there's a lot of digital books out there you can buy for $1 or $2, but not textbooks, okay? This is a textbook on how you can learn to guess better. All on your own, without a device, how you can learn to guess better. And if you could have guessed your way through life before now, how much better would it have been? Now, so it's on the gift of discernment and psychic development. And it's a textbook for $29 on Kindle, $99 in paperback. And I have limited edition that's going to be raised cover, leather bound, sort of a grimoire kind of thing, for $129, but they're not here yet like they were supposed to be. Okay. But there's that. Okay. Now, the other project that I'm working on is going to be a lot bigger than this. It's called a scroll, right? I'm going to try and get it over here. But basically, it's going to list like 100 common things so that if you're a healer, facilitator, Reiki, Qigong, massage practitioner, whatever, and somebody says, oh man, I got this bully at work. Well, there's a reason why you're attracting that. And there's a reason why that person is doing it. And if you do the right combination of color, essential oils, silks, fabrics, other stuff, then you basically put yourself in a bubble that says go away without actually saying go away. Okay. So that's another thing I'm kind of working on. And some of the limited edition ones will actually scroll up, but it's going to be something different. So that being said, does anyone have any questions before we move on about what we talked about?
I have a question.
Okay.
Since I got in late to the class, when do we get the workbooks, or how do we order it, or do we receive?
It was supposed, I will see to it that you get the workbook. So I'm going to be heading out. I'm going to be heading out across the United States because the whole world needs a hug. So if you guys could keep me in your positive thoughts. So, but I would like for this to be a positive event as I go from place to place to place around the country. Our society, you know, as I was joking about in the beginning, before COVID, before all of this, people were welcoming. And if you had a disagreement at a picnic, you'd grab a handful of beer and throw it at somebody or something, right? It wasn't a big deal. And then you just laugh and move on. Well, people seem to have lost their sense of humor and their sense of how to be a human being. And so I'm going to be doing my best. So if y'all could keep me in your positive thoughts, I'd appreciate it. I do really, really value your time. So if you have any questions or you want to discuss anything with me, I'm only a phone call away. There is this group that I've started on a platform called Skool, Skool. And I think everybody that's here is already on it. Wait a minute.
I think so.
Yeah, okay, well, whatever. Anyway, so if you want to be, so on the about page of that, there's the second video in where I'm talking about the chosen. And I'm not saying that we're better than everybody else. I'm saying that we're chosen. And so please do take a listen to that and see what you think about that. So love and light, namaste, and please have a beautiful day.